Yeah, and we are ready for a special NBA episode of the 3 Thought Podcast again. And this time we have one of our first year students at the table with us, veterans over here. His name is Marius.
Very nice to be at the podcast. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and obviously we have our basketball expert here, Rasmus.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back and to could be able to speak again, but...
Yeah, I mean, we don't usually use him for anything else than basketball because he doesn't have the necessary expertise for it. But, we're glad to have him here to talk about basketball. So, we are nearing the end of regular season and we're going to the postseason. And despite DeMarcus Cousins going to the Golden State Warriors, the NBA seems to always stay pretty entertaining. And before we go into that, Marius, can you please tell us why you love the NBA and what got you into basketball in general?
Absolutely. Well, it started with when I was watching Rondo in the 2008 finals, Boston Celtics versus the Los Angeles Lakers. The Boston Celtics ended up winning the title that year, and Rondo was just a great true point guard. I thought he was great dishing out assists and just being a floor general, and that's when I fell in love with basketball, I think.
So you're pretty much you actually love the today's NBA, where there's more focused on the guards dominating the play, the game.
Well, I really love a true point guard, but I also love a center that can, like Shaq. I love a dominant center, but my true preference lays in the true point guard, like Rondo, Chris Paul, John Stockton's.
Sure, I mean Chris Paul is my favorite player right now, and for me, every year that he gets injured before it really takes off, I mean it's always a dagger to the heart. But you're a Boston Celtics fan. So you must enjoy how the Lakers are just failing this season.
Well, I actually expected them to make the playoffs, but I knew they were not going to pose a threat to the Lakers or to the Golden State Warriors. So I wasn't really that afraid that they were going to make a lot of noise, but I did expect them to do better than they did this year.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just go on with the recap of the season. So last time Rasmus and I were recording, we came up with a couple of projections. I mean, let's just talk about some of because everyone who follows the NBA knows that the NBA is driven by narratives. I mean, it's not like other sports. It's really narratives, personal stories, glories, legacies. I mean, teams overcoming obstacles, rivalries. These are the type of things that drives a long 82-game season, and you kind of need these narratives to keep it relevant. I mean, just look at the last 2-3 seasons where everyone knew Golden State was going to win everything, but the ratings are still there, and we're just going to go with a lot of these narratives. And let's just talk about the first one because let's talk about the rise of Bucks and the Nuggets. And let's just go with the obvious one, the Bucks, who last season were pretty terrible. It was this terrible team that could never get over the hump despite having Giannis. And this year, with the new coach, with Budenholzer, they're just on a complete another level.
Yeah, last season they were one of the teams that was shooting the least 3-point per game. And I think this year they are the second highest team. It's only the Rockets who leads the NBA, who has the all-time record for a season.
Well, percentage-wise,
yeah,
they are number one, but they take less threes than Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets are taking more threes this season, but it is a drastic change in their way of playing, and that's because of Budenholzer.
Yeah.
And of course, the surge of Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's been at another level this year. I think he may be the face of the NBA after LeBron James. He has all the tools. He's just a monster in the paint, really.
Yeah.
I would actually say that he is the picture of the NBA right now. It's not LeBron James anymore because LeBron James has the American market, but Giannis is a European player, so he has this international play. He's this international player who can go in and take all of Europe with him and try to expand the NBA into Europe even more than it is right now.
I mean, he's just a different kind of player. Also, in terms of mentality, because I mean, if he was playing with the Lakers or a Knicks or one of these big markets, the basketball teams, he will be a definite star. Maybe a season ago, but being in Milwaukee, being in such a small market, it's usually a disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
But one of the special things about Giannis is that he's so committed in making Milwaukee relevant again in the postseason. I mean,
but still, he works so hard for this. He's not this. He doesn't have this big ego as some of the biggest players ever has had, like LeBron James, for example. He just thinks he needs to go out and do the best he can. He needs to work out more than everybody else, and it pays off.
I mean, it really does. I mean, one of the things that's really interesting with the Bucks is that their biggest acquirement this season is not a player. It's one coach, and I firmly believe that he's the one who has been able to open up this potential, which people are they already had this idea that there's something special in Milwaukee, but they can't seem to unlock that potential. And Budenholzer, with one season, has just done that.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I would also say that they have the team that makes Giannis good.
Yeah.
They have the shooters that can stand out at the 3-point line, and then Giannis, he can take everyone one-on-one.
Yeah.
He's the best one-on-one player in the NBA, I would say, because he is so damn fast.
And Bledsoe, I mean, he is a player that when he were in the Suns, people usually knew that they just have to cut the paint off for Bledsoe because he's a really good fast player who can go into the basket. But now you always need 2 or 3 players to keep Giannis in check. Now Bledsoe can do his thing.
Yeah, and then you have they have Brook Lopez, who's a good 3-point shooter actually.
Great. I haven't seen a center shoot the ball like that. I mean, I saw a game where he hit like 7 of 7 three-pointers. And he were making step back threes and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really impressive.
And then they have acquired Pau Gasol during the season, which is one of the best big men in the league ever to play, I would say. Probably not as good as Dirk, but probably the second best internet or European big man to be in the league.
And who can shoot the 3-ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's a veteran. He has won the NBA championship a couple of times. So
imagine if Brook Lopez stayed in Lakers with LeBron. That would actually be a pretty crazy team. I mean, but they let him go.
It absolutely would. But I also think the Bucks setup allows Brook Lopez to shoot that many threes.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't rebound the ball very well. It's Giannis that rebounds the ball, then goes coast to coast.
He's a borderline center who just plays guard.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that Giannis, he's really the one player who truly, you can say, can guard all 5 positions. I mean, we have put that label on
LeBron James for many years now, but he could when the other team that LeBron played against, if they played small ball, then he could guard the center position.
Yeah.
But now he couldn't go in and guard Joel Embiid, for example.
No.
But Giannis can. Mm-hmm. He has the strength, he has the length, and he has the quickness to do it.
Yeah, he had this. They played against each other, 76ers and Bucks, where they were in front 6 points with 4 minutes to go, and Giannis blocked 2 of Embiid's shots. I mean, that just shows you that the versatility is unmatched with Giannis, where he is the one player where it has been true when you say he can guard all 5 positions, and that's I mean, the Bucks, they're just this incredible team right now. Where I mean, they have to reach the finals. Anything else will be a disappointment. And
I still don't think they're gonna do it, but
but
we're going to that. We're going to talk about that.
But let's talk about the Denver Nuggets, another team which was seemingly irrelevant last year. They got snubbed off their playoff spot
at the last game against the Pelicans. Last game
against the Pelicans, yeah. And wasn't it against they played the Timberwolves too?
Oh yeah,
it was the Timberwolves.
Was it the Timberwolves?
Yeah. Those were the teams that actually were competing for that last spot, so that was an early playoff game for them. But they obviously lost that game, and again, without changing anything, how do you? They were poor defensive team last year. This year, they're top 5 defense, and it's the same exact players who were there last year. Again, it just goes to show you that coaching is really important. And
but still, they have this broad squad.
Yeah,
they can put in good players from the bench all the time.
Yeah,
and then you have some star players like Nikola Jokic, who is incredible this season.
I mean, he is a unique player.
Yeah.
Just like Giannis, you haven't seen playmaking skills of a center like that.
Oh.
So
he has the passing skills like someone like Magic Johnson, for example. He can see something that nobody else can.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about Denver, Marius?
Well, I think it's a great mix of generally young players like Jokic. We have older players like Paul Millsap, veterans.
Yeah.
They have a great mix because you can't do only young players because that would make them too inexperienced, and only old players that would make them too unathletic.
Yeah.
You have a great mix of players, and of course the star Nikola Jokic dishing out assists and just being a very European type of center. Because the European style, they like to pass, and maybe they're not as athletic as many American centers, but basketball IQ wise, they're very, very good. And Jokic is also a very unique talent.
And you have to remember that if there's one player who showed you that the defense is not much better, that it's better in Europe, it's Luka Doncic, who's just said preseason, it's going to be easier to score in this league, and actually live up to it. And Jokic seems to be another player who seems to confirm this theory that it's pretty good. It's easier to unlock a defense in the NBA than in Europe. And for me, Jokic is also another player who just seems to be underrated, because I think he's top 5 player this season, without arguing. I mean.
Yeah, I saw the MVP rankings on the NBA's website just before we started this podcast, and he was number 7, 8, I think, on their ranking. But I would say he's number 3. You have Giannis and James Harden, and then I would say Nikola Jokic, because they have the second best record in the West, and they have battled the Warriors until a few days ago.
And obviously, I just think it just goes to show you that it's not only the skills of a player. I mean, sometimes it's just how appealing are the players. And Jokic, I mean, what he does, he usually takes a keen eye on basketball to see that this guy is really good. But if you just watch a game, it just seems that he just does things and they go in. It's like a Kawhi Leonard. He can score 30 points, but you wouldn't have noticed it because it's just so fundamental, everything. So, but the Nuggets, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on them, because I don't think they will be that good in the playoffs. Obviously, because in my experience, teams who has not played in the playoffs tends to be unsuccessful in the first couple of seasons. So I wouldn't, if I was the Denver Nuggets, I wouldn't be too disappointed if they lose in the second round or something.
But I would still say, when you see how the Nuggets play on their home court, they play in Denver, that is this city up in the mountains. I think it's 1 kilometer up over the sea level, so it's a different place to play.
Yeah,
and they have the best record at home in the NBA.
Well, you're talking about, the condition is just very different. I mean, it's harder to breathe.
Yeah, they're used to play there. The other teams are not.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It just, I need to see it before I believe it. I mean, I had the same thing with LeBron James and the Lakers. Because one of the things we talked about in the last episode was if this team was going to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, that was just after LeBron's quote on playoff mode activated.
Exactly, and obviously we disagreed. You thought they were going to the playoffs, but I thought that the team chemistry was just fucked up after all the trade talks and everything. But and I had to see it before I believed it, and I had the same feeling with Denver Nuggets. I just had this gut feeling that they're not going to be successful as many people think, but that's something we will find out later.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up the Denver Nuggets, and let's talk about Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade, because one of the narratives, and I blame Kobe for this, because he's the one who started to do the farewell tour, I believe. In the biggest fashion.
You still had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He did it?
Yeah, he had a farewell tour of some sort. You had, I also think Magic Johnson had a farewell tour when he came in and played the All-Star game in '92. And then you had Michael Jordan, who also got it. And then Kobe Bryant.
But it wasn't at the same extent as Kobe did, because every game every game where he played, away from home, it would just pop 10 videos of it on my Facebook wall. I never forget the last home game he played where he dropped 60.
Yeah.
Where I was thinking, yeah, that's impressive, but he shot like 50 shots.
Yeah.
but I appreciated it.
I would still say that sums up Kobe Bryant pretty much. That he goes out and try to or take 50 shots and then get 60 points. That's just his career. So
I mean, he's not the most efficient player to ever play the game, but it's just Mamba mentality. I mean, he was just a player who couldn't be shook.
Yeah, but I would say
I just think we should also remember that in case of Kobe Bryant, when he retired, the internet had become a huge thing, social media. So we could film with all our cell phones, and the NBA could put it on Facebook. So it could be broadcasted live to all the millions of people watching. It was kind of a different case when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the Magic and Michael, they only had the TV stations broadcasting their farewell tour. So it's kind of easier to have a farewell tour today.
Yeah. That is true.
But I would still say, talking about Dirk and Dwayne Wade, you have, I would say, arguably the best European player to ever be in the NBA, or actually foreign player in the NBA, in Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, true.
He revolutionized the way that big men played in the NBA.
Yeah.
He got out behind the three-point line and shot it. And he has his famous fadeaway and all that. And he's one of the most scoring players in the NBA of all time.
Yeah, I mean, that guy, he can knee you in the face while hitting a three-pointer.
Yeah.
Basically.
And he's just this normal, calm guy. He doesn't do anything flashy or something like that. He's just a normal, calm guy.
And it's really interesting because Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade's careers are actually pretty much intertwined, because they met each other in 2 finals.
And one each.
Yeah, I mean, and 2 of the most interesting finals were, let's just talk about those, because unlike Dirk Nowitzki, who's this calm personality, big man who likes to shoot the three-pointer, Dwayne Wade was the Flash. I mean, he was eccentric. Loved to see him play, and he was just another personality than Dirk Nowitzki. And one of the things I didn't follow basketball at that time when he won the NBA in 2006, but I seen the highlights of those NBA finals where he just took over. He took over every.
No. The referees took over that series.
There are different opinions on that matter, but if you watch those game highlights, even if he had a lot of free throws, he was clutch
Yeah,
he
it was good.
really clutch. I mean, a lot of games where they were 3-point behind, he would just knock those shots down. I would compare it to LeBron James in 2016. Really,
Yeah, but I would still say when we talk about the 2006 finals, you had Dirk, who was the MVP that year, and was just a beast in the regular season and in the first rounds of the playoff. And then they got into the finals and he just choked. He couldn't play that on that level.
Really, and
I would say that the Heat probably had a little advantages on the player side because they also had Shaq.
Yeah.
But you had one of the greatest big men to ever play in Dirk Nowitzki and to score.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anybody to guard him as well as anybody else. So
I mean, he really choked that game.
Yeah.
And if you remember, the next season, Dallas Mavericks were not one of the teams where they were the first seed and they lost
to the Golden State Warriors.
Yep. Did they get swept? I don't think. They didn't get swept. But they lost to the Golden State Warriors that year. So Dirk Nowitzki in the beginning has had a lot of flaws in his legacy. He was this great player, but he could just never get it right when he came to the postseason.
Yeah.
Where Dwayne Wade, I mean, his third season, and he delivers one of the most spectacular one-player individual achievements during the finals. So
but you can turn that around to was it in 2012?
2011,
where they met again, but this time the Heat had a lot better team than the Mavericks.
Not one championship, not 2 championships, not 3, and they ended up only with 2.
Yeah, they had Chris Bosh, who was a really good player at that time.
Yeah.
LeBron James doesn't need to say anything about that. And then Dwayne Wade at his height of his career.
Yeah.
And they played against an average Mavericks team, I would say. They didn't have these flashy players and all that. They had just had these decent, good NBA players.
Everyone had their role.
Yeah.
I mean Tyson Chandler. I remember him being a big factor in that team.
Yeah, I would say Tyson Chandler is one of the best defensive players to ever play and to be the general of the defending team.
Yeah.
And they also had Sean Marion.
Yeah.
Another great defender.
Yeah.
He has maybe the most ugly jump shot in the history of the NBA, but a great piece to a great team, really a team, not individual players, but a team.
And then they also had, what is his name?
Terry?
Yeah, Jason Terry.
Yeah.
Who's, if you watch the NBA over the last 10 years, you know who Jason Terry is.
I mean, he hit the one 3-point dagger right over LeBron James' face. I mean, and just to put some perspective, this team was not that good. I mean, I think this Dallas Mavericks team was the biggest surprise of a winner we have seen maybe ever, because they were this team who weren't supposed to be there. Maybe aside of Houston Rockets when they in the 90s where they were the 6th seed and they repeated the championship. But otherwise,
I would also say when Cleveland won their first championship.
Yeah,
maybe. But if you saw you knew
they would be in the finals.
Yeah.
That's
but still,
because
winning 7 games against the Golden State Warriors at that time,
I had to.
It was the season where they won 72 games, I think.
I have to play
73 games. It's the best team to ever play in the NBA, and they lost the final.
I mean, look at this, okay? So this is the year the Dallas Mavericks they won the championship. First of all, wait, this is the wrong link. Wait, yeah. So the Dallas Mavericks, they were the 3rd seed, right?
Yeah.
And they had a lot of injuries going on to the playoffs, so there was not a lot of consistencies. They began really good, but then they faded away. And you have to remember, you have a saying that you need 2 superstars to win a championship. Dirk Nowitzki was the only superstar on that team, and they won over. They look at who the players they won against. So first of all, they win against the Portland Trailblazers, with Damian Lillard. No, was it Damian there? I don't remember.
I know.
No, it was Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
It was Brandon Roy. That was a pretty decent team.
Yeah.
And they won over them pretty easily. Then afterwards, they win over Oklahoma.
A great Oklahoma team.
It was a great Oklahoma team at that time.
With both
Russell Westbrook.
They had Westbrook, as they still have. Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, James Harden.
It was the
Adams,
year before their finals.
Yeah.
And they were a really good team.
Yeah.
And they took care of business against them. Then they played the Lakers.
Yeah. I still remember that series. I remember the last game in the series where the Mavericks just absolutely destroyed the Lakers.
Exactly.
And one of the biggest players in that series was JJ Barea.
Yeah.
It was so funny that this little guy just ran around the Lakers and they couldn't do anything.
Exactly.
And then Andrew Bynum got tired of him and just smacked him down. Really smacked him down.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what makes this one of the most surprising things to ever happen because all three teams, they were pretty good teams that you all considered they could reach pretty far in the playoffs, and Mavericks especially because the only real challenge that the Mavericks had was actually the Miami Heat. They were 2-0 down.
Yeah.
But every other team, they're just. And it was only with Dirk Nowitzki as a superstar. That's really impressive.
But it's actually quite fun because if you take the 2006 finals and then the 2011 finals, it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
In 2006, it was the Heat who was behind and won the series.
Exactly.
And in 2011, it was the opposite. Where
Totally.
Maverick just came out of nothing.
Exactly, and that's why I mean these two guys, Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, even though their careers are so intertwined, I mean, it's just real fascinating how these two players they have so much meaning in each other's legacies. Because Dwayne Wade, he was going to be Hall of Fame after he won in his third year and just kept rolling in until LeBron James came through. But Dirk Nowitzki it's not quite sure how we will view his legacy if he lost the final to the Heat, because he was looked at this player as a flawless player who couldn't do it in the championship.
I would still say that I think even though he didn't won that championship, he would still be in the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
Because he is one of the most scoring players to ever play.
Yeah.
And probably in top 3 of the best big guys in the league.
I would agree.
So he is so good. And then I just one thing I find quite funny, it was his last game in Staples Center against the Clippers. Doc Rivers took a timeout.
Yeah, he did.
Went over, took the microphone, and said goodbye to Dirk.
Yeah.
I just think that sums up what a player that Dirk Nowitzki has been through the league, and what a good guy. Everybody loves him. I have never heard one commentator, one expert, no player, or no one says any bad thing about Dirk.
Especially after 2011. I mean, that was just it was just
everybody was just happy that he won a championship because he should have won in 2006, and they just want Dirk to win this championship. So,
but I also think if Dirk hadn't won that championship in 2011, even though he's a great guy, everybody loves him, that would have been a strain in his career, because we see how players that are otherwise very great and just absolutely stunning, like Charles Barkley, the round mouth of rebound,
John Stockton,
Karl Malone. they did never win a championship because of Michael Jordan,
and they always had that label on them.
Yeah.
Because when we look at Karl Malone, he's the second most scoring player in the NBA, but people
probably the 2 best players to ever play together, John Stockton and Karl Malone.
Totally, but none of them are in any top 5 list. I mean, because they didn't win it. They didn't win it. So I would totally give you that. So let's just to wrap up the Dirk and Wade, who had the better career?
Dirk.
Dirk because he was a new phenomenon coming into the league. Because Wade was a great player, but he was just a shooting guard that was great at scoring, and we had seen that before.
But I would still say that Dwayne Wade has been in the shadow of LeBron James. They came in the same year, they have played together and all that. It's like everybody else that played at the time as with Jordan. You have just had LeBron James and then Steph Curry and James Harden now.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade was a great player, but he wasn't that next level player that LeBron James was.
No.
But I think Dirk was that because he was this big man who revolutionized the big man place in the NBA.
Yeah.
They haven't seen such a great shooter, a big man shooter in the NBA before Dirk. So.
I'm gonna be the one who says Dwayne Wade, but that's just a preference. I mean, that's what basketball is about. But one of the things that I love about Dwayne Wade is that I think he is probably the third best shooting guard ever. You have Michael Jordan at the first, Kobe Bryant at the second, and I think then Dwayne Wade at third. Because,
and I would like to agree with you, Danesh, because we should remember, Dwayne Wade has never been a great 3-point scorer. He has scored most of his points inside the paint.
Was Jordan throughout his whole career almost.
But that was a different time.
But I would still say when you have Dwayne Wade, at the time he has played, it's just in the recent years where the 3-point has become this
exponentially risen.
Yeah.
But Kobe Bryant always shot more threes than Dwayne Wade, for example. He scored a lot of points because he was so athletic and great. He had this great ability to steer his body through contact, and he had some amazing poster dunks. One over Rao from the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Also his post game. I mean, it's just fluid.
Yeah.
I mean, players like Jordan and Kobe and Dwayne Wade, their post game is just beautiful to watch.
When you say that, I would say Jordan the best. At doing that. Then you had Kobe, that was this Michael Jordan light, and then
it's a poor man's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and then you have Dwayne Wade, who tried to do the same. He was really good at it, but not at the level as Kobe Bryant, and not even close to Jordan.
I mean, I would only argue that Dwayne Wade, he had a 2-year period where you could only argue because it was never clear. Because there are people who say that Dwayne Wade was better than Kobe in that period, but everyone wanted someone to be better than Kobe, because look at all the players they had that was compared to Kobe. There was Dwayne Wade, then LeBron James, then before that Shaq, then before that. I mean, they're just the similarity between all these comparisons is always Kobe they're compared to. So, I mean.
But I think also he was.
But I would
number
say,
3.
Yeah, I would say right now probably number 3. But James Harden is very close for me right now. He has the tools to become maybe a little bit better than Kobe Bryant in my
far from.
But I just think
Dwayne Wade never choked like James Harden does in playoffs. That's the thing. I mean, you can put up the numbers. You had to show it in the postseason.
Yeah. But if he does that, then he
for example,
is absolutely in the
if he
discussion.
does that this season, then I would say he's better than Dwayne Wade. But if you take it on the regular season, I would probably say that James Harden is a better player to have played at the shooting guard position because he made the change in the NBA.
Yeah,
when he came into the league, the 3-point shot wasn't the go-to thing.
No, it wasn't.
And he did what he needed to do. He went into the paint and got up and
but Dwayne Wade was also much older.
Yeah, and then you have right now where he is the person who takes the most 3-point shots.
Yeah, he is.
And he has almost single-handedly put the Houston Rockets at the 3rd spot in the West.
Totally. But yeah, I mean,
right now he is number 3, but Harden absolutely has the potential to overtake him.
But I think he has to do the playoffs is where he has to go over Wade. I think that's the conclusion. I think we can all agree on.
Absolutely.
So, let's go over to some younger bloods now because we're talking a lot. We're now talking about some playing legends now, but let's talk about some upcoming legends maybe. So, the two revelations of this year's NBA season when it comes to rookies is obviously Luka Doncic and Trae Young. And again, just like Dirk and Wade will always be intertwined in each other's careers.
Yep, especially because they got drafted the same year and they got traded before within the draft. So the Mavericks could pick Doncic and Atlanta took Trae Young. Yeah. And it's actually quite funny because you have DeAndre Ayton, who was the first pick. No one's talking about no one is talking about him. And I still think it's funny that Luka Doncic wasn't the first pick because his national team coach was the coach for Phoenix Suns at that time. So it was the perfect match.
But sometimes I think the whole organization has to be on board with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should also remember we are talking about Trae Young and Luka Doncic, but DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley, they have not had a bad rookie season. They've actually quite an acceptable, if not good, rookie season.
I would probably say that the top 5 for this season's draft compared to last season's draft maybe is a little bit better. It's a better average playing level this season than it was last year, I would say.
I would say this draft class this year could be an all-time great.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I would still say the same for the one last year, where you got someone like
Jason Tatum.
Yeah, you have Jason Tatum. You have
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, Markelle Fultz, who's not that great but can be great. He has the tools to be great. He was the youngest player to ever have a triple-double.
He needs to work.
Yeah.
He needs to put it away.
But I also think that he needs to come away from the 76ers. Yeah. He doesn't have a place there.
No. And they're in win-now mentality.
Yeah. He needs to go to a small market place like Atlanta, for example, or go to Minnesota or something like that, where he can go out, play like he wants to, and not in a championship contender like 76ers, where he's on the spot all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good thing for him to go to the Orlando, but I definitely agree. I mean, we have seen some great draft class in the last years.
Yeah.
I mean, and this year, I mean, as a Real Madrid fan here, I knew Luka Doncic would be great. Yeah. I told it all year.
I watched some of the games from the European Championship where he got his breakthrough in European basketball.
Yeah,
he was out of this world playing in that for that championship.
19 years old.
Yeah, you have Goran Dragic, who is probably the biggest star, or was the biggest star for Slovenia going into the European Championship, and then Doncic just came out of nowhere and just.
I mean, his track record of a 19-year-old is unparalleled.
He won the MVP in the EuroLeague
as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I can't state it enough. He's 19 years old at that time, and he came into the Dallas Mavericks team, and from the first game, he was something special. He was special because I haven't seen a guy play like him. He's a weird combination.
He plays like a veteran.
Yeah, really.
He's 19, 20 years old and plays like a veteran. What?
This was the perfect comparison. He's somehow a mix of a James Harden and a Larry Bird. Somehow.
I would also say that some kind of Dirk in there, in the way he is as a person, because he's this laid-back person who I'm just playing basketball. I don't do anything else.
And we should also remember his basketball IQ, because he's compared to many American players, they are very athletic from the start, and they focus very much on the athletic side of basketball. Yeah. He's not that athletic. He's just a great basketball mind combined with, I did not know he could shoot that well.
No,
as he's doing in the NBA.
I think it's funny because when you say that he is compared to a lot of Americans, I actually think that when you look at him, he looks kind of chubby.
Yeah, he does. He looks like a little fat.
Yeah, but and he's just running around playing games with all of them because he's just more clever and has a better basketball IQ.
You know, and this is something I really value in a player, and to be able to be 20 years old and already have this, right, is the clutch gene. I mean, to be unafraid of the moment at a 20 years old. That's, I mean, look at a LeBron James at a 20 years old, or 21, or when he was at his peak in his first finals with the Miami Heat, where he choked.
He isn't a great clutch player. He's a great playmaker and all that, but LeBron James in the clutch is not that good.
Well, at that time.
I still doesn't think that he's great. He's defensive-wise, he makes clutch plays, but on offense...
Just look at last year, how many clutch shots he hit. He hit that one against Indiana Pacers 3-point. Then he hit that one against Toronto Raptors. Then... I mean, there are a lot of that's an old narrative.
But it's still, look in the finals last year. He could have won the game almost for the Cavaliers.
He made the ultimate pass to George Hill. No, that was a perfect pass.
In the first game.
The first game,
where he got two free throws. He made the first one, and it's tied, and then. He shoots the second and misses, and then you have this J.R. Smith.
But it wasn't LeBron who missed.
Yeah.
No, that was George Hill. Yeah, he made the pass to George Hill.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, then it's another finals game. I remember that he has so many free throws where he can win the game, and he misses because he is not a clutch player at the free throw line.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you're overall a clutch player.
I would say defensive-wise, he's a good clutch player. Offensive-wise, when you compare him to someone like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and all that, he is far away from them.
Have you seen the stat where they compare LeBron, Kobe, and Michael Jordan? So in playoffs, there have been where they have scored a buzzer beater to win or tie a game where they were about to lose, right? Kobe has hit 1. Jordan has hit 3. LeBron has hit 5.
But I still think...
But I think that LeBron's legacy is so tarnished by that 2011 Mavericks. And I agree, I'm the first one to say that was pretty lousy performance. But afterwards, you don't have anything against LeBron. I mean, look at how he did it against the Spurs in 2013. He was really good in that Game 7. And even though he had 2 bad minutes before Ray Allen saved him by the bell, but he was the reason why they had that 3-point deficit in the fourth quarter. Yeah. So I think it's an old narrative. But, you know... But that's
just a little bit off track.
Yeah, but you know the case I wanted to make about Doncic is he has one of the best field goal percentage when it comes to clutch moments, and he's 20 years old.
And I think it's quite funny that he's at the Mavericks and he is going to take over from Dirk.
Yeah.
I just think it's a funny narrative.
It seems poetic.
Yeah.
It really does, and especially I remember the free he hit against the Trailblazers. Yeah. He fell into the Trailblazer bench after hitting it, and they were just looking at him like they were really surprised. And he just has a grown man's feel to it.
Yeah.
Because we should remember he actually has played professional basketball since he was 15 in the Spanish Basketball League, which is a great league. It's not NBA, but it's a very good league.
It's the second best league.
Yeah, many person says that the Spanish league is the second best league in the world.
Yeah.
So
and he continuously performed, but we should not always say that when you perform well in the Spanish league, that would automatically translate to the NBA, because we should also remember Ricky Rubio. He was actually the youngest in the Spanish league, and he was very, very good. But he is a good player, but he's not become great in the NBA.
In the first seasons for Ricky Rubio in the NBA was not that great. When he got older, he got better playing in the NBA. You have Doncic going directly from the Spanish league and directly into the NBA. and performing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Kristaps Porzingis. Most people don't know he played in Sevilla in Spain, but he hasn't had the same level, even though people predicted.
Yeah,
I mean,
he has been injured for over a year now.
Well, but even before the injury, he was a good player, but he
played in New York.
Yeah,
okay, it's.
But I think Mavericks and Knicks were at the same level where they're at right now. They're trying to rebound, or they're trying to restructure their team.
But I still think it's. You can argue that is how if you have a mentor.
Yeah.
At the team, and Doncic has the perfect mentor in Dirk.
Yeah, sure.
And you have Rick Carlisle, who is the coach of the Dallas Mavericks, who's a great coach, actually.
One of all-time greats.
Yeah, he's really a good coach, and he's good at developing young players.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect match.
Yeah.
And then you have Porzingis in Mavericks now.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's a great pair of players
for that one, because that's going to be interesting if they develop into great players, both of them, because. Yeah, they can do everything.
Yeah,
I mean, they're European players. You can just tell them by the European players. They have the similarity that they seem complete and have a good mind for basketball. Also, when you look at Jokic, So, yeah.
And then we have Trae Young.
Yeah.
Who didn't play that well in the first half of the season, but after the All-Star break, he just went nuts. And people says that him and Doncic should be co-Rookie of the Year. And I think you can argue that they should be that because Trae Young has played tremendously good at the last part of the season.
I mean, when do you see a rookie putting up numbers like 19 points per game, 8 assists per game? That's the stat that really stands out.
Yeah.
He's a true point guard.
Yes.
And after the summer league, he really played horribly. And I thought, he's gonna be the biggest bust. Dallas just robbed Atlanta, but he's really bounced back.
Yeah.
And a lot of people hated on him because of the summer league, but he's really responded the best way possible.
Yeah, it's like he was a contender in the skills challenge in the All-Star weekend, and he was not that great there. But after that, it's like all the hate that came to him after the All-Star weekend and all that, he's just took it in and said, okay, I can go out play like no one cares and I don't care about anybody else, and just have fun playing.
I haven't seen a player who was that bad at summer league and then suddenly score 50 points. I mean, Trae Young is the closest thing to Steph Curry right now.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, his play, because I see a lot of those qualities. Steph Curry is remarkably much better off ball than Trae Young, but the way that he needs to be guarded all the time, he can't have the ball, and you can't leave him any space for him. But he's faster than Steph Curry, and he actually has a better close-up game than Steph Curry at that age.
But and I would say that he almost has the same ball handling as Steph Curry. Yeah. So he has the tools to be almost as good as Steph Curry if he has the team.
Yeah, but obviously he's a defensive liability. Yeah. So he needs to be on a team who can defend for him, like Allen Iverson and Stephen Curry and all of these players. Because he's not gifted with the athleticism and
or the strength.
Height, anything. Yeah. So he really has done the best he could with what he has been given, and obviously. I'm a fan of Trae Young. Also had a gut feeling that he's going to be a good player, even though it wasn't apparent in the beginning. But I'm putting Doncic in front of Trae Young, because it's the same reason for why I put Giannis in front of James Harden at the MVP race, because consistency, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would still say that I think that Doncic is going to win Rookie of the Year, but because of the last 15, 20 games.
Yeah.
Trae Young is actually quite close.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but also many others' opinion.
Yeah,
that he has the potential to be Rookie of the Year.
And this only creates sparks going into the future, because at the beginning it was like, oh shit. Atlanta Hawks, they fucked everything up with they should never have traded. But now you could actually look at a potential rivalry. I mean, even though we don't see that much with players to players.
And it's actually quite funny because when they've played against each other, they're actually quite good friends.
Yeah.
So they don't have this big rivalry, so to say, but they are friends off the court, and when they go in on the court, they have the rivalry.
Exactly, and that's why it could be really interesting to see how this evolves in the future. I mean, how it's going to compare in 15, 30, 20 years. Maybe we can look at them like Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki and compare their careers. I mean, it's going to be some good years from here on now. And obviously, we also have to remember the other rookies who have been overshadowed. I mean, Marvin Bagley, also a historically good power forward. He really has some good numbers. DeAndre Ayton, when he gets a lot more shots, how can he develop? Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies, when he becomes the man.
A great defender.
Exactly.
He's been overlooked defensively. He's maybe the best defensive player in the draft.
Yeah, and I actually think it's quite funny because I only think it's because he played for Memphis that people didn't talk about him. Because when Memphis played, then people would talk about him. But afterwards, it's just... Then you had Marc Gasol, who got traded. Then you have Mike Conley, who's probably going away from the Memphis this season, after this season. So,
I mean,
he was just overshadowed in Memphis. But
and also overshadowed by Trae Young's 50-point games and Luka Doncic. I mean, they're just highlight reels, and he's not that type of player.
Absolutely not. I think the only top 10 rookie that has really disappointed me actually was Mo Bamba from the Orlando Magic. I expected a lot more of him, but he's a very fit.
But I would still say when it comes to Orlando, they have so many big guys. So when they all the time just draft big guys, I get really, really tired because they need some good small players.
I mean, the Orlando Magic is just one of those franchises where you just facepalm yourself every year. First of all, they traded away Victor Oladipo. Look how he has become. Look at Tobias Harris. How has he become? And they traded for Serge Ibaka, where he is now.
And then it's quite funny when they have Aaron Gordon, who's... Some people say that he's going to be traded. He's probably going to be really, really good when he gets away from the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
And it's just like that all the time. The only player that they have who is consistently good is Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah. And that's just a waste of talent that he is in there. Yeah. I mean, the Orlando Magic, since the Dwight Howard years, is just a poorly run organization who just lacks identity. They don't know what they're gonna do. And every year, it's like the Sacramento Kings was for a couple of years back. Right now, they're actually okay.
Yeah, they have surprised me.
Really,
you could also say that they are one of them narratives this season because they were in the playoff spot actually quite long into the season.
Yeah,
and was fairly high up. Also, it was. They just had this run and gun offense.
I can never forgive Sacramento Kings to waste a talent like DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins in the right team would have been an all-time great player.
Yeah, and they also had Isaiah Thomas.
Absolutely. But DeMarcus Cousins is also a big personality. Not everybody can handle him. He has several ejections and stuff. So you have to have the right people around DeMarcus Cousins.
You know what? I saw the most incredibly fascinating video about DeMarcus Cousins and how we have misinterpreted him. There's a channel on YouTube. It's the NBA Storyteller. Try to watch his video on DeMarcus Cousins, and you will change your mind. This is how I looked at him for the past 5 years, right? That video, it just goes to tell you that the reason for why DeMarcus Cousins was so temperamental in the Sacramento Kings is just because he hates losing. Try to imagine how good he has been when he's been with the Pelicans and Golden State. You hear a lot more about Draymond Green and Kevin Durant than DeMarcus Cousins. But anyone who are interested in that video, go watch it. And the NBA Storyteller is a pretty good YouTuber. He is. So that was the Doncic and Trae Young and the potential eternal comparison that we will have of these two. Let's talk about Harden's hot streak, because one of the reasons why the Houston Rockets are so surprisingly at the position they are in right now is totally James Harden's fault. I mean, he has been so amazing.
Yeah, we touched upon it just before. So I can't remember how many games he went on where he had 30 points or more.
Yeah,
and he is the first player in the NBA to score over 30 points against every team in a single season.
Yeah,
that's actually quite unique to do that.
That's something you do in NBA 2K.
Yeah. But he makes traveling all the time when he shoots when he makes the step back. But that's something else. But
he's a player who bends the rules.
Yeah.
So.
But he is this tremendous shooting talent. I don't think you've seen anybody creating his own shot in that way.
Yeah.
That he does. He has revolutionized the way to shoot the 3-point shot.
Yeah, and one thing that is a theme when it comes to James Harden is that we have seen this in the regular season. I'm actually a fan of James Harden. I love everything that he does, except the traveling, of course. But you gotta. Everyone is not perfect, but one of the constant topics with James Harden is that he is so incredibly good in the regular season. I mean, in the last 3 years, he has been MVP contender every year, and in my opinion, he was robbed of his of an MVP season when Russell Westbrook got his, and last year he deservedly got over LeBron James, of course, and again this year somehow, despite Clint Capella being injured, despite Chris Paul being injured, he has kept the Houston Rockets relevant and in championship contention. And now that every player is back, they can do some damage in the playoffs. And that's why when everything James Harden does in this playoffs, people are gonna watch, because if he fails under the expectation again this year, I don't think he can he can do an MVP season again.
Yeah, but when you mentioned the year that Westbrook got his MVP, when you see at the team that Westbrook had with the Oklahoma City Thunder that year, still making it to the playoffs and averaging a triple-double for the first time since Oscar Robinson, I can understand why he got the MVP that year. But last year, he got it the right way, if you can say that. He should have won it last year and also won it. So
yeah,
and then this year you have a player in James Harden where he lost the two best defending players on the team. So there were, in the start of the season, they were one of the baddest team in defense, where last year they were one of the best teams in defense. And then you had Clint Capella out with injury and Chris Paul out with injury, and then he just got on this hot streak and won games for them. Yeah. And I was just, how can he still do this? It was just like every night going further up the rankings. I was just, he can't go on to do this through the regular season, but he did it.
And we should also remember he has 7.6 assists per game in average and 36 points per game. Absolute obscene numbers. And I also think the very impressive thing with James Harden is he has to score this many points for the Rockets to be relevant and to even come into contention of a title, because we should also remember James Harden is a liability on defense. He does not
so much this season.
No. He's got a lot better at defense. In the one of the first season with the Rockets, he was just standing, and people going by him in defense. He was just standing. I don't want to defend. I just want to score points. Why am I even here?
There was just a certain level of commitment that wasn't.
Yeah, that
there.
wasn't there because he's not a small guy. He's 6'5", 220. He can defend if he wants to. It's not like Trae Young. He's just too small to get the bigger guards. But I think if he takes the defensive mentality into the playoff and if he just plays average defense and he just scores like he has now, the sky's the limit.
I mean, and one of the things that always keeps me, skeptical about James Harden is take last year. If James Harden was just at his usual level, they would have gone past the Golden State Warriors. I mean, if you remember, those last 3 games, it wasn't James Harden who carried the Houston Rockets against the Golden State. It was actually Chris Paul who was hitting some big shots. And
if you watch Game 7 from last year, they weren't hitting any threes whatsoever.
25 threes in a row missed. And they were single digits away from Golden State Warriors. They were actually leading in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So they were really close. So if James Harden was at his usual level, I saw the game, he was robbed of some fouls because, all the fouls he gets in the regular season seems to equate the free throws in the playoffs, but he just needs to be better in the playoffs. Yeah. He needs to.
But I have 2 things. The first one is he's get easily frustrated.
Yeah.
When he doesn't get a foul called on him, when there probably is a foul, then he just goes. He can't play at his usual level. So that's one big issue for him. He needs to get that controlled. And the second thing is, I think it's only Will Chamberlain who has averaged more points in a season ever in the NBA than James Harden.
Dude,
it's quite. I can't even set
you can't really fathom that.
Yeah.
I mean, the way James Harden plays is how you will play as a guard in 2K. For real.
Yeah.
You put a pick and roll, and then you just go past the pick and roll, and then you just do things.
He'll play too much 2K.
Yeah. Seriously, that's how I play 2K. I just put pick and rolls, and depending on what they do, I just do whatever I want to do. I mean, it's just incredible. So, yeah.
We are going to move on to talk about LeBron and his legacy with the Lakers, because it was really a big thing that he went to the Lakers last summer, and everybody thought that this is going to be a playoff team and so on, because they had some good talents, but then the chemistry wasn't right at the end of the season. And
just to further elaborate on it, everybody knew the whole AD, the Anthony Davis gate that happened right before All-Star break, where that Lakers actively tried to recruit Anthony Davis, but obviously they needed to trade a lot of their young players. So what happens when you have a whole lot of young aspiring talents who wants to play who wants to play with one of the greatest player ever, and the greatest player ever might influence the trade that he wanted a lot of these young players gone. Yeah. You have to remember they were in 4th place before LeBron James' injury. They were actually good.
Yeah, and they won against the Warriors
without LeBron in the fourth quarter.
Without LeBron in the fourth quarter, but also in some ways quite easily. Yeah. They didn't play at a high, outstanding level in those games. They were actually only decent.
Yeah.
But they won because it's this mismatch of players. You have Rondo, who had some good seasons in Boston, had a great playoff run last year with the Pelicans against the Trailblazers, and then you have Lance Stevenson, who failed after his first attempt with
with the Pacers.
Yeah.
He then moved to Hornets, then Clippers, then he became this all-around guy until he came to Pacers again.
Yeah, and then you have JaVale McGee, who's obviously a champion. Yeah,
Mr. Shaq the Fool.
Yeah, and then you have these young guys, Jordan Clarkson. You have Brandon Ingram.
Jordan Clarkson.
Or not Jordan Clarkson, Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
I confused those two a lot, so my bad. Kyle Kuzma, not Jordan Clarkson. And then you have...
they had...
Lonzo. Lonzo.
Yeah, they had also the one in Clippers right now.
Subac.
Yeah, Subac. Yeah.
So they actually had a quite young, talent team, but...
They were figuring it out, and after the AD trade rumors, after the All-Star break, it just crumbled. And this is the thing we were trying to predict if we was gonna make the playoffs, and look what's happening. So obvious to say, LeBron's first season with the Lakers was a total disaster because
and it also the first season. Since I can't remember when the last time he was.
Smartphones didn't exist back then.
I think it was in his first or second season with the Cavaliers.
I think it was the third season he began to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, so it's for the second or third time he isn't in playoff throughout his career.
He's in the 16th year.
Yeah, and
going into the 17th year.
One thing we need to remember: LeBron James is not in a final this year.
Yeah.
It's the first time in many years.
And that was the beginning of smartphones.
Well, it's the first finals since the Dallas Mavericks finals.
Yeah.
He's not in the finals.
Yeah.
8 straight times.
It's quite funny. Or no, there was...
I didn't begin. I wasn't in high school back then.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, so in 2011, so that's...
We were kids back then.
8 years.
Yeah,
8 years. We were kids back then.
It's going to be strange finals.
But, and it's actually quite funny because when you see throughout this season they had Luke Walton as a coach. I don't think he's going to be the coach next year.
No.
And I saw some odds on who is going to be the next coach for them, and there's a 500 to 1 chance that LeBron James is going to be the coach of the Lakers. And I actually think that it's a
probability.
Yeah, that he is going to be the coach because he has the IQ to be an NBA coach. And I think that through the Cavaliers year, the last Cavaliers years, with Tyronn Lue as the coach, he has probably been the coach, not Tyronn Lue. He's just been there for the pictures.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, LeBron James, he's a really good basketball mind, but sometimes he hits like Rondo. They're too clever sometimes
for their own good.
They have this picture in their head going through the paint and just, okay, I'm going to pass it over here because they need to be over there. There's a free spot to take a shot. And they just pass and there's nobody there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really this. They have situations. You have seen situations where when it goes wrong for LeBron James is when he's overthinking.
Yeah.
Sometimes the thing he needs to do is just attack the basket.
Yeah.
And that's one of the frustrations, especially from LeBron critics, that he doesn't need to always be passive and look for the smart play. You need to attack the basket, and that's when he is the least dangerous.
Yeah, but I would still say when you look at LeBron James, it's almost like Michael Jordan in some ways, that he is this great player going into the hoop and going out, passing it out also, but he doesn't have the really good 3-point shot that he needs to have now to be at the best guy in the league. But you can still say you have Giannis, who is not a great 3-point shooter, but he can add it. He can add it on. LeBron James can add on now.
Well, and I think if LeBron hadn't been injured, I think they would have maybe have made the playoffs with the 7th or 8th spot.
Yeah.
But I also think that LeBron in this season, even though he's an absolutely muscular guy, he's incredible physique. very durable. It's actually, I think, the longest injury he has had in a really long time.
Yeah.
I think it is his first major injury.
Yeah, it is. It is. He hasn't been out for more than 2 weeks. Before, so it's actually quite unique that a player at his age has played so many games without having an injury.
It's unheard of, and that's actually one of the things I wanted to touch upon. You know, where do we see LeBron going in terms of his health in the future? I mean, you have to remember this is his 17th season, and we have just now seen. I think it's the first time I've seen LeBron decline now. And there's signs of declining here. I mean, you can't really argue that.
But I would say that I don't think that it's going to go down like Carmelo Anthony.
Kobe Bryant.
Or Kobe. Because when he played in the first half of the season, he still had this high level and everybody was like, how can you still do that? You're so old. Yeah. You're in your 17th season. What are you doing? But the thing that he needs the most right now is a second superstar player. He needs someone like Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, or something going to the Lakers this summer. Because if that doesn't happen, then you need a Brandon Ingram going in, taking over, and let LeBron go back and just go around passing, use his great basketball IQ, and let the young players take the shots and take all the hard fouls and all that, and just play like a true point guard, because he can play like a true point guard.
He definitely has to take a role now. He can't do what he's done for the 16th year and do everything. He needs to. I heard this from a TV sports program where his theory was basically he either needs to be a small forward and get those 30 points and 8 rebounds or 10 rebounds, or he has to be a true point guard and get those 20 points and 10 assists. Yeah. He has to do something. He can't do everything anymore. I mean, he already sacrifices everything on defense right now. Yeah. I mean,
and even though he's maybe the most durable player of our generation, and he has kept an incredible high level of basketball for so many years, I think the main thing you can see where he's declining or where he just doesn't want to play is actually defense. He's been very, very lazy sometimes on defense. We saw that even though he's got the body, we have seen he's chased down blocks, but I think on defense is the main focus where he's been declining.
Yeah, I saw some clips after when he got back from his injury. He goes up for a layup or a dunk and misses, and then he's just walking back.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go back, and it was like we talked about Harden before.
Yeah.
He's just like Harden in that season where he didn't want to play defense. So you have this great player. He needs to go down in defense. He needs to have this guy who can take over from him, so he can be on the court still, make his impact that he has, but doesn't need to go and make everything for himself.
And I don't think he realizes this, but when he slacks off in the defense, the team slacks off in the defense because he is the leader. He is the all-time great LeBron James, and if he is not committed on defense, no one's gonna get it. And I actually saw a video proving that the frustration that especially young guys who have all this energy need to burn off. If they see LeBron James, I remember the opponent team was shooting, then they shot a 3-pointer, it rimmed off, they get the rebound, and they played it to another player, and LeBron didn't go there, so Kyle Kuzma just pushes him so he could guard him, and that just shows you, the frustration that comes when your leader or your mentor is not fulfilling his duty. I mean, there's not anything more demoralizing than that.
Yeah, but a thing I would like to say about the Lakers is that even though I'm not happy to say it, Lonzo has a big role for that team.
Yeah.
Because he can be that player that can help LeBron James at that team. And when he's not there, then you need a Kyle Kuzma. And Kyle Kuzma can't go out and make the numbers that Lonzo can every single night.
I think really this season, Lonzo's skills, people have found out what it is.
Yeah.
His defensive abilities.
Exactly.
He's actually a pretty good perimeter defender.
Yeah.
I saw him guard one of James Harden. He just has his hands behind.
He's a really, really good defender.
Yeah.
It's
And he is a really good passer. I mean, there has never been any questions of how good of a passer Lonzo is. It's just that we never realized that his shot was so bad. It's so broken, and it wasn't that broken in college. It's really weird.
But it was the first season. In his second season here, he actually got some of his shot back from college. So he began to have a better player on his team. Or LeBron had a better player on his team with Lonzo, and then Lonzo got injured also, and then that player is gone.
Yeah.
And when he's gone, when he was in Cleveland, he had Kevin Love and he had Kyrie Irving. So if the one was out, like Kyrie Irving wasn't one of the finals, you still had Kevin Love. If Kevin Love wasn't there, then you had Kyrie Irving. Yeah. You had this second guy who could help you.
Yeah.
And he also had the only 2 times he didn't have that one guy or the 2 guys there. It was the first time he was in the finals with Cleveland,
and they should have won if they were there.
Yeah, and then in the last season where he had Kevin Love, but Kevin Love is not that great anymore.
No,
so he was all by himself.
Yeah, really,
and carried that team to the finals.
So I mean he needs help. But just to wrap this LeBron topic off, who do you think needs to be there in the next season in the free agency? Do you think Anthony Davis is a good fit? Because I actually thought about that. It doesn't.
I don't think so.
No,
because
right?
He doesn't need a big man. He needs a small guy.
Yeah.
When you see the times he's won the champion or where he has been the best, it's with a smaller guy than himself.
Dwayne Wade or Kyrie.
Yeah, he needs the person who can go out and shoot.
Yeah.
And Anthony Davis, he can shoot, but he's not that great a shooter.
And he's not necessarily someone who wants to be a smart shooter. I mean,
and
the players who are declining when LeBron James is thriving is the big men.
Yeah.
Chris Bosh and Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Those are not the guys you need.
Yeah, he doesn't go in and make some handoff in the paint. He wants to go into the paint and kick it out because he can take all the guys in, and then he needs shooters.
But I would still argue that Anthony Davis is better now than both Kevin Love and Chris Bosh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah, but neither Chris Bosh or Kevin Love have been all-time greats.
No.
But I would say that for Anthony Davis' own sake, don't go over and play with LeBron, because I don't think that he's going to reach the level he can with if he is a second string player on the team. He needs to be the first go-to guy.
Yeah.
To be the good player. When has been this go-to guy, he is incredible. But when he is the second guy to go to, I don't think he wants that.
No. So this is my opinion, and I thought about this. So I think this will be the perfect 2 free agents who's going to be really good for LeBron. Kyrie at the point guard and Bradley Beal.
Yeah. Bradley Beal could be really, really interesting.
Bradley Beal will be really good with LeBron because he is a pure spot-up shooter, but he can handle the ball.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and LeBron James could also bench them if they're not doing so good. Like, when Cleveland Cavaliers in the first season against the Pacers, where they were behind 20 points, then LeBron just decides to bench both Kyrie and Kevin Love and then makes a 20-point comeback.
Yeah.
I mean, he can also do that. I mean, that's how great he is. So,
but I would probably say that Bradley Beal is a really interesting person.
And he needs to get away from the Wizards.
Yeah. Yeah, because...
Get out.
Yeah, because you have... there is a mismatch between Bradley Beal and John Wall.
Yeah,
and John Wall is not going to be traded because he has this super max contract, and nobody wants to take that.
Worst contract in basketball right now.
Yeah, but I would say it's probably me who's a little weird, but Kevin Durant. There is the rumors that he goes.
I will lose. I don't have much respect for Durant now, but come on.
I hate Kevin Durant for going to the Warriors, but if he goes to the Lakers, I will hate him even more because it's just I want a championship. I want to play with the best players. And
yeah.
I have an outsider. How about Kemba Walker?
Yeah.
He's
I also thought about that.
That's a poor man's Kyrie, really.
Yeah,
but Kyrie said he escaped Cleveland to get out of LeBron's shadow.
Yeah.
Imagine how it would look if he came back to LeBron.
Yeah, but they weren't friends at that time because there was some kind of tension between them there. But they have talked during this season and have cleared everything out and all that. And you also saw that he picked him for the All-Star team.
Yeah,
so
LeBron is a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
He picked that All-Star team with potential free agents.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, but also you take Giannis. He had the first pick on the bench.
Yeah,
and he took Chris Middleton and not Anthony Davis.
That's just
it's
loyalty.
but still.
Yeah. But yeah, that's LeBron James. So
then moving into
trades.
Yeah,
because
trades and free agents.
Yeah, free agency because there are a lot of interesting names.
Yeah.
We have Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Kemba Walker, Anthony Davis,
and
Bradley Beal.
A lot of them is unrestricted free agents.
Yes.
They're not restricted, so the teams that they are on, if they don't have the cap room, they can't match an offer from another team.
No.
So if, for example, take Kawhi Leonard, for example, I think he's unrestricted, right?
He is unrestricted.
Yeah. So Toronto, if they don't have the cap room, I think they have.
Yeah.
But if they didn't have the cap room, they couldn't match an offer from, for example, the Lakers or somewhere else.
Yeah.
So then, if he wants the money, then he's gone. So.
Yeah. And especially now that we're talking about Kawhi Leonard, I hope he goes to the Clippers. Man, I really hope he goes to the Clippers. But there have been numerous rumors on that LA is the destination for him. But he don't want to go play with LeBron.
Yeah, but actually, there's something I think it's quite funny is that there's also a lot of talk that he wants to re-sign with Toronto because he is actually really happy in Toronto, and nobody thought that, but he is. He thrives playing with those guys up there. And it's a great team. They have a great coach and all that. So why not stay?
That is a possibility.
Just the thing with Kawhi, kind of like the thing with Lonzo Ball. We had heard a lot of Kawhi's uncle. He was actually primarily the guy behind Kawhi's move to Toronto. And because Kawhi is a very shy guy, he's not very talkative. I think the uncle has a say in the matter where he's going next year.
Yeah, I mean there's been the reports, and other destinations. I mean, it seems to be LA or Toronto. It just seems to be that.
And right now it's the Clippers or the Raptors.
Yeah,
and
it depends on the Raptors' success, really.
And I think if the Raptors goes to the finals this year, but loses. Yeah. I think he says, okay, I'm going to stay here, trying to evolve the players like Siakam, for example. Yeah. See if they can get a decent player in the draft, maybe, and then build on that success that they have had through the season.
They are young players. And their time, there's room for improvement, Yeah. And Clippers, they just freed up cash space with their Tobias Harris trade. So obviously, the thing here with LA is that that's the place he wants to go, and also that they also have a well-functioning team right now. Like Clippers is not the same team. It's not the joke anymore in NBA. Absolutely. They're not a joke anymore. So
we talked about that last time. That they actually have this all-around good team, almost like Denver Nuggets. They have this broad squad that you have. I saw one place that they had the two highest contenders for a six-man. And I'm really mad at myself for not mentioning him last time. Lou Williams.
Yeah.
For a six-man, and then they have Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
It's two great players coming off the bench.
Really.
And the coach, of course.
Doc Rivers. Yeah.
The title-winning coach of the 2008. But he's also a great coach. I mean, he's just a veteran coach that can really make something happen.
Yeah, but he's actually, it's quite funny with Doc Rivers because he's the highest contender to go to the Lakers to be the coach next year. It would be really controversial that he has been in Boston, then Clippers, and then moving from Clippers to Lakers.
Yeah,
it's
that's not good. And even the Clippers office, they will hate him for doing that.
Yeah.
They will, because the Clippers. I mean, I think it's the gut feeling around the league that the Clippers are up to something special. Yeah. It's the reports are saying that 2 free agents. That's the aim actually. So.
But that's the same with New York, for example.
Yeah.
They are like, okay, we are going to have Kevin Durant and we're going to have Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. But you have to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
They have maybe one of the worst front offices in the league.
But they have. But I would say they probably has the biggest market.
Absolutely.
Because they can get these big players in because it is New York. Yeah. And then you have Brooklyn, who is just on the other side of a river.
Yeah.
And they're not
Brooklyn Nets though. Brooklyn Nets also a place where you can go actually. People are not mentioned that much.
Yeah, they have cap space for one big contract, and that's actually something I thought could be quite funny if Kawhi Leonard went to Brooklyn. It could be a scenario.
Kevin Durant was actually pretty good in that team.
Yeah. But also there's talk about Kemba Walker also going to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Because he is from the New York area. But he would prefer going to the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
But
Kawhi is from the Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. So it's probably a bigger chance for him going there. But
then, we also have to talk about the 76ers 2 free agents. Because they have both Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. And
I would say it's actually quite big that they traded for two such good players. It's the first team ever in the NBA to have 5 guys averaging over 17 points per game, I think, or something like that.
That's crazy.
So 17 points per game for 5 starters.
Yeah. And obviously the big problem from 76ers is that it's going to be pretty hard to keep all of those players, and actually impossible. Because
I think it's going to be Jimmy Butler going away, and he's going to Los Angeles somewhere.
Yeah.
He needs to go away. He's a problem in the locker room for many teams.
Yeah,
he was a problem in Minnesota. Then people thought, okay, now he's in Philadelphia and everything is good. And
same reports.
2 or 3 months in, he was like, okay, I need to go to Brett Brown and say I need to get to be the go-to guy. I need to play pick and roll. That's my game.
Yeah,
and he has hit some big shots for them, but
it's so clear that Joel Embiid is the best player on that team.
Absolutely.
And he has to defer at some point.
Yeah, but I would also say that Ben Simmons is probably the second best player.
Yeah.
And not Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is probably the best defensive player on the team. Yeah. If not Ben Simmons.
Joel Embiid is a pretty good post defender himself. I mean,
perimeter defender, I still think is Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. Totally. So, and Jimmy Butler has just been this overly competitive guy. I know it for myself. When you're competitive, you can be harsh on your teammates. Yeah. Know everything about stuff like that. But some players, they're just way too competitive, and Jimmy Butler seems to be that guy because he also, ruined his relationship with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins in Minnesota. He also had some drama when he was in Chicago Bulls. Yeah. That's why they let him go. So but not a good track record for him, in the locker room.
But talking about the 76ers, I would say they have the best GM in the league this year in Elton Brand.
Yeah.
Trading for 2 stars in the NBA, or Tobias Harris is probably not a star player like Jimmy Butler, but he's a decent, good guy who he can create his own shot, he can make the big shots. And when he played for the Clippers through the season, he was. If Lou Williams wasn't there, he was the go-to guy.
I mean, Tobias Harris was the go-to guy. It's just that when fourth quarter, that's just Lou Will time.
Yeah.
The fourth quarter, it's his quarter because
Yeah.
he's just so incredible in those crunch times. But Tobias Harris is one of those players who hasn't had the right environment around him.
Yeah.
He hasn't been on a team where everything, where he just fits their plan. Because first of all, he was traded. No, he was drafted. I don't remember where he was drafted, but then he was traded to Orlando Magic. We all know how much of a hellhole that is right now. Then he went to the Detroit Pistons, and at that time they weren't really a good team either.
But he was still a topic in the NBA.
Yeah,
people talked about him, and then they had the Blake Griffin trade. Last season, where he went to the Clippers, and then he's this guy going around the league, so to say. But I think he's found his place in the league with the 76ers right now.
The 76ers should definitely resign Tobias Harris rather than Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Because he fits their way of playing.
Also because they have JJ Redick who can be the spot-up shooter.
Yeah.
And he is a veteran. They don't need Jimmy Butler.
No.
Because they have all these other guys that they can go to.
Exactly.
They have the go-to guy behind the perimeter in Tobias Harris or JJ Redick. They have the go-to guy inside with Joel Embiid. And then they have Ben Simmons who can just be this point guard going around.
Exactly. I mean, they just need a good bench right now.
Yeah.
The bench is everything that 76ers needs. And that's somehow a good problem to have if you understand.
Absolutely, it is a good problem, but they also still lack experience. I think they lost to the Boston Celtics last year, 4-2 against a very young Boston Celtics without Kyrie, without Hayward. They were really not that good in that series.
But I would say when we talk about the playoffs in the East, it comes down to who has the home court advantage. Because Boston had the home court last year in that matchup, and between those two teams, it is who has the home court. Because 76ers is really good at home, but not that great when they play away. Whereas Boston, it's almost the same. They're really good at home in the playoffs, but playing away in the playoffs with a young team, it's difficult because there is a lot of there's more pressure. There's more sound or the crowd is more loudly in the playoffs, and going to a place like 76ers with the talent that they have and the fan base that they have, they rooted for the team even though that they had the worst record in the NBA's history. They were still like, we can see where this is going, we can see that you want to get some good draft pick, going out, building up this team, and then in some years then we're there.
Yeah, I mean, I see two major reasons for why 76ers lost that matchup. First of all, it was definitely Ben Simmons. Because maybe I should add that as a second reason. Because first reason was because that Brad Stevens were so good tactically against the 76ers.
He's the best defensive coach in the whole league. And
that's why, now that I say he totally outmatched Brett Brown in the playoffs last year. He utilized the ultimate weakness of Ben Simmons. He can't shoot. I've been saying I love the way he plays, but I don't even put him as a star yet because he needs to shoot that ball. He needs to get the fundamentals of shooting in him so he can make those. Just mid-range, that would be enough actually.
I would say he can dribble the ball up the court, for example, and trying to go out from there, and then he needs to go into the post, and then they actually have Joel Embiid on the one side in the post, and then they have Ben Simmons on the other side.
And shooters around him.
Yeah, but still you can actually take Joel Embiid behind the three-point line, and then just have Ben Simmons in there and be the playmaker, almost like Nikola Jokic. And then have a big man like Joel Embiid standing out at the three-point line and shoot.
I don't think that's the way though, because one of the analytics I saw is that Joel Embiid is not that great of a player when he's just shooting outside shots.
He needs to go inside.
I mean, his bread and butter is the post game. I mean, he's the best player in the post of a center, maybe since Hakeem Olajuwon. There are a lot of similarities in their way of playing.
I would say since Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, but it isn't the same way though.
I think it's different.
Yeah.
I think the footwork is the best in Hakeem,
Yeah.
but Shaq was more dominant.
It's just force, man.
Yeah.
It's just force.
Brute force.
It's just 300 pounds just pounding you.
But Joel Embiid has both.
Yeah.
He has the footwork, but he also has the power.
Yeah, he does.
There isn't a center in the league, I would say, that has the same power on offense. There are some who can defend him.
Yeah, like Giannis.
But at the center you have Baines in Boston. You have Bogut and
Steven Adams.
Yeah, but in Golden State you have both Bogut now, but you also have DeMarcus Cousins who has something.
He doesn't have that commitment though.
But if he can get that commitment, he has the strength to hold some kind of way through. And then you have Steven Adams, as you said, and then Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah,
I actually also think you could put Jokic in this because he's so heavy. He's very heavy.
Yeah, he is.
But he's 285,
and then Andre Drummond also.
It's the same thing with him and these European big men. They just look big, and not in the good way. But yeah, so the 76ers will be interesting how they move forward. Now,
there is
one guy who just needs to get away from that place because it's just way too easy. Kevin Durant. I mean, especially Rasmus and I, we have strong opinions on this guy.
Yeah, as I said in the last time we talked about the NBA, I am an Oklahoma fan, and it actually started out with the Supersonics, and then they moved to Oklahoma, and then I followed. And I was like, when I saw that he went to the Golden State, I was like, why you were on a team who was better than the Golden State in the season, but the Golden State won the series, and then you go on to go to that team. I was like,
yeah,
you stay with your team who had a better record that year through the regular season and choked in the Western Finals. Then I would say that he needed to go to a place where he didn't have these star players around him like he had in Oklahoma, and then be the go-to guy. And then he went on to fucking Golden State. What the?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against going to a player to join up with superstars, but this was a 73-9 team, dude.
Going from being the MVP in the league on a team that could win over the Golden State, going over to another MVP on the team, probably one of the best all-around guys at that time in Draymond Green, and one of the best shooters in Klay Thompson. It's like, and then probably also the best six-man or two of the best six-men in Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston. It's like, it's not even fair.
Yeah, I mean, it just destroyed the parity of the league.
Yeah.
I mean, so, I mean, Kevin Durant for the last 3 years has definitely been the most scrutinized player. I mean, he is the most hated player. I mean, if you watch anything related to Kevin Durant on Facebook, just watch the comment. Watch the comment session, and you will understand how you either love KD or you hate KD. There's no middle ground there, and it's even worse than with LeBron James, because after LeBron James won his two titles, it was just people got it why he moved over there. There was nothing in Cleveland. The team was not good. He was carrying that franchise.
Yeah.
But Kevin Durant was so much different. It was, I mean, I just remember when I saw it, I was shook. I was shocked, actually, that he went to the Golden State Warriors. If he went to another relevant team, if he went to the Cavaliers, actually, or, well, maybe not Cavaliers, but just an up-and-coming at the same level as Oklahoma.
Many thought that he was going to Boston, actually.
Yeah.
In that offseason. Many said, okay, he's going to re-sign with the Thunder, or he's going to Boston. because Boston was this up and coming team at that point. So I wouldn't have been angry for him going to Boston, because it was like, okay, they're a great up and coming team. I have nothing against them, and then he goes on to join the best team ever in the NBA.
It's just, I mean, 7-3-9. It just tells the picture, and then they get the second best player in the world at that time. I mean, that was just incredible, and ever since then, you know, you knew who's gonna win. I mean, we even know who's gonna win this year. I mean, but Golden State Warriors is the team that they are the only ones who can make sure they lose.
But I would still say that because there is lack of chemistry in the locker room for the Golden State this year, some of the Eastern teams have a chance to win it, and they have the strength, they have the teams, they have the defense to stop them. For a team like Toronto, for example, they have the team, they have the broad squad that the Golden State also have. I would even say that Toronto's team is even broader than the Golden State, so they can compete with them on an overall basis. So
yes, but the Toronto Raptors needs to get to the finals first.
Yeah.
And there's a certain Giannis in the way, there's 76ers.
And I would still say that Bucks can also win it.
Yeah.
In a 7-game series. It's so close between some of those teams.
It is.
And I also think that the Bucks are still the best team in the NBA, or has the best record, so they would have home advantage, and they are really, really good in their new arena.
Exactly.
They actually have the joint best record.
And they're and I'm just like there are 2 games left in the season, so they're playing tonight, and then there's also tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma is playing tonight. They're playing against Houston, and tomorrow they're playing against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So Milwaukee has a chance to get
they only actually have 1 game left. They've only played
Milwaukee.
Against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And just to say that, you know, Kevin Durant is I definitely think that he's at a level right now where, you know, I think he realized that no one will never see him as the best player, except Skip Bayless, of course. But you know that he's the best player in the NBA before he makes his mark on a team which is not consisted of such a crazy squad. I mean, there's nothing wrong with winning, but you know, there's definitely something you can say that some championships have more value than others. That's why Dirk Nowitzki's championship is so significant. It's like this one time that something special happened, or LeBron James, something special happened in 2016. It's one of the most incredible things we have seen.
But also LeBron James in 2004, where he got that horrendous Cavaliers team to the finals. They got swept by the Spurs,
2007, right?
But was 2000? Yeah. Okay, 2007.
Yeah.
So it was a horrible team.
Mm-hmm. Offensively,
but also defensively.
They were actually pretty sound defensively.
But still, I wouldn't say that they should have gone to the finals. It was LeBron James who got them to the final.
It was like Allen Iverson in 2001.
Yeah.
It was basically him who has to carry the offense, and the other players has to play defense.
And the championship, the Pistons won in 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
With Chauncey Billups. They did not have any stars in that team.
It was... I would say they had Ben Wallace.
Yeah, of course. But
probably a top 5 defending player in the NBA of all time.
He stopped Shaq.
Yeah. It's quite... He stopped Shaq. It's just...
But how often do you win when your biggest star is a defensive star? You do not see that.
No. Even though it's more in Europe, you say that defense wins championship, because in Europe defense is, you train a lot more on defense than you do on offense. You still have these systems going around on offense, but on defense, you can go play a zone defense, you can play man to man, you can play pressure defense, you can go back.
Yeah.
You don't see that in the NBA.
No.
You have some players like Dellavedova, who sometimes goes up and pressure full court, but you don't see them doing that much in the NBA. So
No, not that much though. So yeah, back to Kevin Durant. But you know, Kevin Durant is just he his championships are not that valuable. That was the point of the before mentioned argument that, you know, he needs to go to a place where he could get a valuable championship. You know, something that not only his own fans will respect, but he needs someone that the league will respect, because a lot of players don't respect Kevin Durant, even in the league, because he made this move because he's too good to do a move like that.
Yeah.
That's the opinion. Obviously, he's free to do it. No one's saying that.
Yeah.
He's free to do whatever he wants, but he also needs to accept that you're gonna get strong opinions when you do things like that. And he is not the type of a guy, obviously, based on all of his burner accounts, who takes these kind of things well.
Yeah.
So he needs to go to a place. I mean, New York have been mentioned.
yeah, but I actually have the question for you guys now. Where do you think he's going?
I think it will either be New York, but it depends on if he can join another superstar.
Yeah.
But Brooklyn is a possibility. And there was a third team too. There was a third team though.
I can remember.
No, Clippers. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
the Clippers. But because if he can win something in Clippers, obviously it would be okay for me if he joined the Clippers. But I will never like him as a player.
Yeah.
But you know, those are.
Yeah, I agree with Dinesh, except I am actually quite sure that he's going to the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I mean,
because if he wants to build a legacy, is there any better place than the Knicks? If he wins the Knicks' first championship
in over 40 years or 50 years,
yeah, the largest city in the United States, all his championships with the Golden State, they may not be counted as much. But his championship in the Knicks will be absolutely immense.
I mean, this is basketball mecca right there. Yeah. And they haven't tasted that champagne in before. I mean, that was before color TV, really.
Yeah. Have they ever won?
Yeah, one champion. What was it?
They have won once, I think.
When they were in New York, though.
Yeah, I think so.
They have always been a New York team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just thought with Ewing. That was
they had two. 73 and 70.
Okay.
Do you know who played there at that time?
Bernard King.
Yeah. But there is a certain coach who has won 11 titles who played at that team.
Bill Russell.
Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson played on those teams.
He played in.
He played the Knicks and won championships there. That's how long time with it.
Yeah. Okay, but I would say, talking about this, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's wishful thinking for me, and I don't even know if they have the cap space. But I could see him doing a LeBron James, going back to the Thunder.
Not gonna happen.
I don't think they have the cap space for it.
And I don't think Russell Westbrook wanted that either.
I think that Westbrook is committed so much to the Oklahoma City Thunder that he would play with everybody in the league to win a championship with Oklahoma. So I could see that history repeats itself with Kevin Durant going back, but
it seems like wishful thinking.
Yeah, it is wishful thinking, and I wouldn't. Of course, I would be happy to get a player like Kevin Durant on the team, but
it's not the same level of affection anymore.
No, because he did that move, and I also think that the biggest possibility for him is going to New York Knicks.
Yeah, so that was Kevin Durant, and that's gonna be something that changes the league, because that obviously means that dynasty is over in Golden State.
And also, we haven't mentioned Klay Thompson as a free agent.
Oh,
and he is a free agent. I think we all agree here that he's going to re-sign with the Warriors because he is so close with that team now.
I mean, he's happy. The team.
Yeah,
it's the Splash Brothers.
Yeah, but I've heard a lot of experts saying that it could be interesting to see if he can play at that level that he plays at in Golden State. If he went to play with another team where he maybe was the go-to guy. I think he could do something, but he would not be as good as a shooter as he is in Golden State.
The ultimate pair will be LeBron James and Klay Thompson.
Yeah,
that will actually be pretty crazy.
And there's actually rumors that he is going to the Lakers.
Yeah, his dad played there, Michael Thompson. Yeah.
Exactly.
But we also have Kemba Walker and AD. So
I don't think AD is.
No, he's not a free agent.
He's a free agent next summer.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a trade if he's going anywhere.
He's going to be traded. Pelicans.
I don't think. I actually don't think so because Pelicans front office have been out saying he's not going anywhere right now.
Except if they get an incredibly good
exactly.
offer.
So they need. It's like they need. For example, if they trade with Boston, they need Jaylen Brown, they need Terry Rozier, they need Jason Tatum. They need all those young up and coming guys for one player.
Yeah.
But if they do not trade him this summer,
then lose for anything.
Yeah, but there is. They play him in the last part of the season here. They played him, I think, 20 minutes a game because it stands in his contract that if he doesn't play at least 20 minutes, then they need to pay a fine to Anthony Davis. So they just went over the limit, so they doesn't need to pay him money.
Yeah.
So there is some kind of tension between the front office.
But also they need to keep him in shape, though.
Yeah.
Because they need to keep him in shape because he needs to do what he does and to get
But
some players from.
I actually think that it's a bigger possibility for Anthony Davis to go to Boston than it is to Lakers. Because I could see him play in Boston.
I sense animosity towards LeBron James because the whole thing about him and Clutch Sports and his agent
Rich
Paul. That they really. I feel like the organization in New Orleans, they will do anything to not get LeBron James because he has changed the landscape of free agency before, and if for example Anthony Davis went to the Lakers this season, that would have changed it again because the difference was that LeBron James was an unrestricted agent when he moved to Miami. Anthony Davis still had 1.5 years back on his contract, and if he did that would have changed a lot.
Yeah,
it really would, and not for the benefit of the organization.
Absolutely not.
So, it's going to be interesting. And Kemba Walker, I mean, I'm not really sure where he is going because he is the borderline star player who's just a really good player on a really bad team.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as Michael Jordan was as playing basketball, he's not really that good in the front office, though.
Kind of like Magic.
But But I would still say Kemba is like either he's staying with Charlotte or he goes to New York. I don't see.
You don't see the LA?
No. He's from New York. He could be a great player in New York, and he has this tie now to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And they actually have a decent team, so they can do something, and they also have some cap room to get some good role players in.
Yeah.
So they have the potential to be a good team, but I could see him go to New York and play with Kevin Durant, for example.
Yeah. So that was the trade talks.
Yeah.
So let's go to the awards because we're gonna go fast with these awards because
we talked about them last time in our prediction, and it's easier now for us to say who we think is going to go with it. And we have talked a little about Rookie of the Year with Doncic and Trae Young. It's going to be between those two.
Yeah. And obviously I think it's Doncic. So
yeah, I also think
it's a no-brainer for me. But I have seen that there's more of a.
Yeah, I don't think that Trae Young is going to win it by himself. If he's going to win a Rookie of the Year, it's going to be a co-Rookie of the Year with Doncic. I don't see Doncic don't get a Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. And obviously the Defensive Player of the Year, I'm actually going with Giannis or Kawhi.
Not Kawhi.
Not Kawhi?
Not Kawhi. Rudy Gobert or Giannis. And I think it's going to go to Rudy Gobert.
I think it's going to go to Gobert, but I would actually give it to Giannis if I could choose.
Yeah.
Just because he's been such a force.
Yeah, I mean
he's been
incredible.
he's this all around good guy.
Yeah.
He's really good at defense, controlling the Bucks defense. But you also have Rudy Gobert, who has through many seasons now been the general of the Utah Jazz's defense.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be between those two, and it's actually quite funny because both of them are European.
Yeah, they are.
So
then we go to the sixth man, and this is not an argument.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
It's Lou Williams.
You have the most scoring sixth man or person coming off the bench.
Yeah. I mean, look at if you ever look at a Clippers game, fourth quarter, that's Lou Will time.
Yeah.
He does everything. He decides everything.
I would say he's probably the best guy doing clutch things in the NBA right now.
Yeah,
he is so good in the fourth quarter.
I mean, he can do everything.
If you see some of his clutch plays where he goes in, gets contact, he knows, okay, I need to do this right now because then I get the foul. Or I need to do this right now because then I can get it over him.
I mean, he's so incredible at drawing fouls.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, he's the poor man's James Harden actually.
Yeah.
But he's more efficient than Harden.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't take those crazy shots, and he has these limitless threes actually. I mean, he's really good. I remember him being sixth man last year for Clippers and hitting 50 on Warriors.
Yeah.
So that's how good he is. So yeah. Then we have the coach, and that's a no-brainer for me too, Mike Budenholzer.
Absolutely.
What he has done with the Bucks is, it's unparalleled.
Yeah, I can't remember the Denver Nuggets.
Mike Malone.
It's Mike Malone, yeah.
Post Malone.
It's Mike Malone or Mike Budenholzer. I would give it to Mike Budenholzer because he have made this drastic change, and they have the co-best record in the league, so it's the obvious choice, but nobody saw Nuggets being the second seed in the West. The West is so strong, and they're the second seed.
Yeah.
It's also quite impressive.
It's really impressive.
So it's one of those two.
Yeah. And then we have most improved player.
I have an outsider.
Who?
Last time I saw Pascal Siakam, I say D'Angelo Russell.
D'Angelo Russell is a good one.
He has been really good.
He's on a tear.
And especially after the All-Star break, after we made the last podcast.
Yeah.
He has single-handedly almost got the Brooklyn Nets into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers are probably scratching their heads right now that another player who drafted by Lakers is doing really good after he left Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, Julius Randle is obviously the other one.
Yeah, obviously.
But
I'm going with you.
Yeah.
I actually think D'Angelo Russell is going to win it, and I think he deserves it.
Yeah, but I also think that Siakam deserves it. I would say one of those two if it's not going to be a co.
Again, consistency. I value consistency.
But if you look at Siakam over the past 3 weeks, I think he hasn't been that impressive.
No.
So and D'Angelo Russell has.
He
has, to quote LeBron James, he have activated playoff mode.
Yeah, he has activated playoff mode. That's true.
He has been tremendously good over the past weeks here.
I mean, his mid-range is really good. He's really going against the traditional three-point shooting. Even though
I think it's really nice to see a person or a player going also like DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
Not going with the three-pointer because it's not the only thing in the NBA.
Oh.
Or in basketball for that matter. You have all these kinds of ways to get points, and then why not do that and just do it great and do it over and over again?
Yeah.
I actually also have not an outsider because we know him very well. He's been a very accomplished basketball player. It's Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose, yeah, he has been.
been improving a lot this season. He's averaging 18 points a game from 8 points a game last year.
And he was actually one of the persons I talked about as sixth last time. But there's no doubt that is going to Lou Williams. And I would also say that also Montrezl Harrell is also higher up in the six man.
That's great.
But Derrick Rose is a good.
I think his comeback has been remarkable this season.
He just this player everyone is rooting for.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the most tragic careers ever.
Yeah. And he had
the potential he had when he won MVP as a 21-year-old.
Yeah,
and he had a 150-point game, I think.
Yeah, he did.
This season.
He did.
And I remember him just standing in tears because it has been so hard for him going through these injuries and going away from being the best guy, the best player in the league, to be one of the worst almost.
Yeah,
I mean,
and being
just
out of basketball. And he was thinking to himself, "I'm not going to play basketball anymore. I don't want to. I don't feel happy playing basketball. To go in and play like he has this season." But I don't think he's going to get it because Minnesota is not in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you need to take that into consideration when you have these awards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That if you're a playoff team, then you have some kind of chance of winning something. If you're not, you don't.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's fair because look at someone like Devin Booker.
Yeah.
If he wasn't at Phoenix, they would be like 280 or something like that. He is probably the most valuable player for a team in the whole league.
Yeah.
If you take it as a valuable player, not the best player, but the valuable for the team.
Yeah. And then we're going to the last one, the MVP. And we have talked about it. It's going to be either a Giannis or a Harden, but I'm going to put Giannis.
I think we all have Giannis because Giannis is just amazing.
And Marius actually predicted that Giannis will have this incredible season from the beginning.
Yeah,
I was a skeptical one.
Yeah, we have this fantasy league, and I talked with Marius before the season began, and he was like, "I need Giannis on my team because he's going to be the MVP. He's going to have this amazing season." And I was like, "Yeah, he's good, but I don't think he's going to win it. I think it's going to be Curry or James Harden or something, some of those players."
I even said LeBron James.
Yeah. So it's a great call. Great call.
Thank you.
Even though I'm winning in fantasy, but that's
I got Giannis, but my other players were not as good. But I think it's one of the closest MVP races, but I still do not see Harden beating Giannis.
That's the funny thing. It is quite close, but for me, it's just no-brainer. That's the funny thing here. But you know, they have remarkable seasons.
Yeah, we have these two who has had absolutely amazing seasons, and then the rest of the field, right?
Yeah.
At some point, I would have argued that Paul George could have been up there because he had this hot streak also where he went for 40, 50, and all the time at the same time as Harden did it. So in the middle of the season, George was also a contender, but he lagged off.
Yeah, totally. So as the last part of this episode, we're gonna talk about the NBA postseason because we are done with the regular season soon, and we're gonna just go up with the matchups and give our predictions on who's winning this thing. So
we have all the matchups in the East almost. Yeah, I don't think there is so much going on over there. But there is still some of the teams that has not clinched the playoff spot yet.
Yeah.
But I don't see. I think it's Charlotte on the 9th.
Yeah.
In 9th right now.
And
I don't see them going up over the Pistons. I could have seen it if they played against each other, but I don't think that is going to.
It's probably gonna be the Nets who's gonna fight for some better spots. If either they're gonna play against the 76ers or Raptors.
Yeah.
So let's just.
If we take it as it is today, then we have Milwaukee against against Detroit. Then we have Toronto against Orlando, 76ers against Nets, and Boston against Indiana.
Yeah. And obviously Boston and Pacers. That's gonna be one hell of a first round game.
But Boston should win that.
They should.
Because Pacers don't have Oladipo.
Yeah.
We also talked about that because it was just after his injury.
Yeah.
That we made the last podcast, and I would say that their best player right now is Sabonis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he is a good player.
Absolutely.
So, but he's not an all-star player.
No.
And then they have Miles Turner.
Yeah, Miles Turner, who has the
actually
most blocks per game.
Yeah.
And they also have a good coach. I mean, not a bad coach, Nat Turner or Turner.
Yeah. And then I would say...
Isn't it Nate McMillan?
No, Nate McMillan.
Nat Turner is
it was
the slave rebel. The slave rebel.
McMillan, that was his name.
But I would actually say the most interesting matchup in this in the East, I would say it's Nets against 76ers. I think it's going to be one hell of a series. It's going to be funny because it's two really quick teams.
Yeah.
And they have some good players, and it's just it's a matchup between Joel Embiid and Allen Crabbe.
Yeah.
Isn't it Crabbe or Jared Allen? Crabbe.
Jared Allen.
Jared Allen.
Alan Crabbe is also there.
Yeah, but he's not a center.
No, I don't know.
He's a shooting guy. Yeah.
It's it's Jared Allen, and then you have. I don't see. I would say it's going to be the 1, 2, 3, and 4 who's going.
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, I don't think there's any surprises lurking in there. And then if someone's going to make a surprise, then I think it's going to be either Nets or Pacers. Yeah. But Magic and Pistons, I mean, I'm just surprised Magic is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the Western Conference, we have Golden State Warriors against the Clippers. Then we have Denver Nuggets against San Antonio. Houston Rockets against the Thunder. And then we have Portland against Utah.
Wait, isn't it Golden State versus Spurs?
No, Clippers. Spurs has has the tiebreaker between those two.
They can still.
It's still like the standing is today.
Yeah.
So we don't know how it is in the playoff when playoff time comes.
Sure.
So it's like how the standing is right now.
Yeah.
Then it's Warriors against Clippers, and then.
Yeah, and obviously Golden State that's just we're projecting them to the finals.
Yeah, but I talked with Denne before we started recording, saying that I could see the Thunder be the biggest contender to Golden State.
Exactly.
But they need to get past Houston, and it depends really much on how Westbrook is playing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And how Harden is, because if Harden is not playing at his usual regular season level. Then there is an upset in the first round.
Yeah, there is.
And then I would also say that the Jazz is going to win over Portland because Nurkic is out.
And I'm actually...
And McCollum. McCollum is also out.
Well, I could also, even though Denver has played such good basketball throughout the whole season, if they are going to meet with San Antonio Spurs, we know... San Antonio Spurs, we all know Greg Popovich, we all know the experience they have.
The best coach ever in the NBA, Greg Popovich.
Yeah.
I saw a quite funny fact about him. There is 5 coaches in the NBA right now going into playoffs that had either played under Greg Popovich or coached with him.
Yeah, as assistants.
5, yeah. You have Mike Budenholzer, who was an assistant coach. Then there was Doc Rivers, Steve Kerr, Brett Brown, and I can't remember the last one. No.
That's just the impact he has on the whole league.
Yeah.
I'm still putting Phil Jackson over him because of championships, but I will still say that what Popovich has done with one team, that's pretty.
It's because he has stayed with one team, made the playoffs every single season.
Yeah.
It's even though that they don't have a great team this year. But they're still in the playoffs.
And this season is his hardest, and that's just because he lost Kawhi.
Yeah, and also Pau Gasol is not at the team anymore.
No.
Their biggest player right now is LaMarcus Aldridge or DeMar DeRozan.
And Marcus Aldridge is just overrated, though.
Yeah, but I think he's been playing actually some quite good basketball this year. He scored 48 against Celtics. He had some big games, and DeMar DeRozan is also a good player. We should remember that. So I think they could pose a problem to the Denver Nuggets just because of the Spurs experience and the Nuggets inexperience.
Yeah.
But I still see Denver Nuggets winning that matchup 4-3 maybe.
But obviously, I would say if someone's going to make an upset here, it's going to be the Thunders.
I would say Thunder or Jazz.
Yeah.
Because I
But Jazz wouldn't really be an upset because it's the 4th seed against the 5th seed. So
but still, I just take it as the definition as an upset in the NBA because an upset is when a lower ranking team wins a series over a high ranking team.
Absolutely, but still different.
So
it's the 8th seed or the 1st seed.
Yeah.
But it's only because they miss Nurkic and they miss.
But I'm definitely putting OKC over Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
That one. I think someone's going to make it. I just have this gut feeling. I explained it before that I feel that the Denver Nuggets, they're going to fail somehow.
Yeah.
And obviously because they're just inexperienced. So something we need to see. But
who do you see in the finals against each other?
Right now, I see the Golden State Warriors against the Bucks. That's just the obvious one for me.
Okay, I would say the...
You need to go with Boston.
I'm going with the Bucks, but we should remember the Celtics have been to 2 Eastern Conference Finals, and who stopped them? LeBron James? Is he there anymore? No.
That's the same thing with Raptors. Same thing with Raptors.
Yeah, that's true.
I need to go with the Warriors because they have this great team, but I still think that Thunder has a chance to win. I think they have the biggest chance because they get Robertson back now for the play in the playoffs. I think, who is their best defensive player. They have Paul George, who's also a really good defender. They have a good guard coming from the bench in Dennis Schroeder. They have a good big man in Nerlens Noel going in on defense, who has actually played quite well this season.
Yeah.
And then they have Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook. So they have a great defense and can match up with the Warriors. So I think they can pose a threat for Warriors, but I think Warriors is going through the West. Yeah. And I need to stick with what I said in the last podcast. I think the 76ers is going through. They have 76ers. They have too good a starting lineup. They have too many good players to close out a game.
Yeah.
If it's a tight game, they have a Jimmy Butler. They have Tobias Harris. They have Joel Embiid. They have JJ Redick. So they have these great players going in.
So you're saying OKC versus 76ers?
No, I say Warriors against 76ers.
Okay.
But I would say my second in the East is actually Boston.
It's rare that I'm the one who goes with the obvious one. Yeah. But and that was the end of this episode. We came quite long, but that's. I mean.
Oh, and just one thing. I think 76 is going to win over Warriors.
Oh shit!
I don't know. It's just to make fun.
But that was the end of this NBA episode, and our next NBA episode will be after the first round of the playoffs into the conference semifinals. So thanks to you, Myers, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and
we don't want you here again.
And hopefully we would like to have you in some other NBA episodes.
Would love
in the future.
Would love to.